You know what that is? Discipline. Selfish.
No joke. We're legitimate.
Let's fucking do this. Then do it. Do it 100% because I'm trying to.
We recognize that we are limitless.
You gotta be a champion to become a champion, right? Winning is a habit because we create habits that lead to good execution and success.
Welcome back, everyone, to The Coaches Show, the podcast dedicated to all things paintball, coaching, strategy, theory, and the people who make this sport what it is. I'm Coach Mike Bianca of San Diego Dynasty. My co-host is Coach Ryan Gray of Red Legion, and this is episode 65. Tonight, we've got a very special guest joining us. If you don't live under a rock, you know this man and his squad have been on an absolute tear. Okay, the coach of back-to-back winners of World Cup 24 and Tampa Bay 25, the Flukes, as I like to call them, Paintball Fit's very own Coach Casey Harris. But Casey isn't just a winning coach. He's also a father, a restaurant owner, and a longtime player who's dedicated his life to this sport. We're going to dive into life and his coaching philosophy and the grind behind Paintball Fit's success, as well as how he balances family, business, high-level competition, the works. We may only have him for a bit, though, as we understand he's currently under the weather and he's battling the flu, I believe. But man, just like his team, he won't quit. So he's going to try and be on the show. And because of this, we're going to give you and the people a little bit more. A special guest will join us at the bottom of the hour that you can't afford to miss. So grab your pen, lock in, and let's get into it because this is the Coaches Show. This episode is brought to you by Max Sportswear. If you're playing the NXL or a regional league, contact Charles today for contingency details. Trust us, it will be well worth your time to reach out. Remember, for all your custom paintball goods, get maxed. And BKI, the best knowledge in paintball. If you want to elevate your game, join BKI. New platform and content is on the way. Use code COACHSHOW to let them know you heard it here on the show. BKI, where you can quite literally learn from the best one-on-one. If you're a manufacturer, brand manager, store, or field owner and would like to support the show, we need you. We have a new pricing structure for 2025 and are eager to discuss how we can partner with you. Please contact Ryan throughout social media channels or Ryan at thecoachesshow.live. Hey, man, hopefully Casey's going to join us here shortly. I hope he's okay.
Yeah, so when I sent him the link this morning, he's like, I have the flu. And I was like, oh, God, man. I was like, I've already created the marketing, done everything for the show. Like, I've sent it all out. And I'm in Florida, too, so, like, I'm an hour ahead. Anyway, so we do have somebody. Hopefully he is able to jump in. And if he does, we'll talk with him for maybe 25, 30 minutes. And then we'll bring in another person who's agreed to join us tonight. So should be a lot of fun. Obviously we were trying to give Casey all of his props and opportunities to talk about Tampa, right? We talked about it a lot a week and a half ago, and there were just a lot of gaps in what we talked about, especially from kind of Paintball Fit's methodology, which we talked about, very little. Was mostly just around, it really didn't change anything. They kind of went with a standard breakout pretty much every point throughout the tournament. Really didn't change much of anything other than just where guns were pointed off the break. It's really all they did. In normal Paintball Fit fashion, shot really well off the break, knew all the bounce shots, played with control and poise, and their methodology on kind of the way they matriculated was, we used to talk about Paintball Fit. We talked about Chavez a lot, right? We would say, hey, there's not a lot of offense, kind of other than Chavez, but that's not really the deal anymore, right? Like now they're pretty controlled kind of all the way across the field and don't necessarily need Chavez to go down and be a hero. Now, he was a couple of times, but they also had other guys who stepped up in big moments. So, yeah, it was, it's really interesting. I was hoping to get some of that from Casey tonight, and hopefully he is able to join us. I sent him a message and just said, "Are you alive?"
Yeah.
So
yeah,
hopefully,
I mean, the
he is
flu you don't
okay.
want to mess around with, obviously. So there's a really good chance
Yeah.
that, he had an episode come on. But you're absolutely right. I don't think you can sit there and look at any one thing. You have to look across the board. The depth is real there. It's that when you have that strong of guns, when you have that type of work ethic, when you have that type of focus and discipline, and an understanding that, we've talked about this a lot on the show about how PBIQ, how paintball, the game today, is becoming much more academic. And this is what I mean by academic. If you study the sport, if you study the game, if you understand the principles and concepts behind a field walk, behind playing a field, then you'll understand what we're talking about. And PB Fit has just shown that in spades. And then everybody, not just Chavez, everybody stepped up on that starting line and even into the bench and showed what's capable. And you can't look past Colt either. And Colt's IQ and how he was helping Casey and what he was doing in the pits. I want to talk about that tonight too. It's just absolutely incredible what that team was able to accomplish.
Yeah. And Colt is, we were talking about this kind of in the green room. He's a big personality, right? And just from an emotional perspective, from the time the game starts till it ends, like emotionally, he's at 100 miles an hour the whole time. Big personality in the pit, very, I don't want to say aggressive in delivery, but sometimes, right? Like sometimes he can come off as being a little bit brutal. And they do that because they're family, right? Those guys literally are brothers, and they come at each other in kind of a weird way. Colt, unable to play, and what he was able to help with in the pit, again, not just from an emotional perspective, but also as a tactician. I mean, he just Casey had literally like an amazing coaching staff with Colt and Johnny standing there. So really impressive. Again, hopefully we can get Casey on. If not, we'll reschedule him. We do have somebody else who's going to jump on hopefully really soon. Andrew Ornsby asks, question about the upcoming coaches clinic. Do you need to have been to any other clinics to understand what's going on? No. So the way that we set up all of the clinics, Andrew, is each one of them kind of has its own curriculum that is set apart from the previous one. However, there are building blocks to the process. So are you going to have some gaps? Certainly. But for the topics and the discussions that we'll be having at the next clinic will all be revolved around the things that are in that clinic. And I always, after the fact, or even before, when I provide you guys the books, they'll have all of the previous data sheets in them so that you can collect information that we're talking about. So
absolutely.
Good question.
It is a great question. And something else I wanted to add to that is we also have a understanding at every one of these clinics. And you'll hear me say this at the beginning of every clinic. The dumbest question is the one not asked. So don't worry about what other people are thinking. If you don't know something, ask it, because trust me, there's probably a lot of people there who are thinking the same thing and we're afraid to ask it. So absolutely. Come on, man. We'd love to have you.
Yeah, we kind of went through that at our last clinic. It was supposed to be a 5-hour clinic, and we ended up we just kept rolling because the conversation was really good. I think it ended up being like 6.5 hours. So
it was.
Yeah,
it was. And then we ended, even after that, I remember still talking to some of the coaches offline and after the fact in the weeks coming, where they would send me a message, say, hey, quick clarification about something. And, that's what this is about, right? We're trying to grow this aspect of the game, right? The coaching aspect is not covered very much. There's some great coaches out there. There's a lot of coaches out there that are not just great, but are completely undiscovered and nobody knows about. And we'd love to meet them too. And some of you have probably been to the clinics because we love your feedback as well. We want to hear how you do things. because you don't know, there might be a gem out there that no one was aware of, or maybe something you do better than others that, just that none of us have thought about. It's a distinct possibility.
I think I learned something at every one we do, if not a couple of things.
Agreed 100%.
Yeah. All right. Well, since Casey was going to have the flu, we ended up getting a bit of a backup anyway for somebody to have somebody on who could talk us through some of the things that we wanted to get into about Paintball Fit. So tonight we have a very special guest who represents the next generation of paintball athletes. He's young, he's hungry, consistently involving his game straight from the powerhouse squad of Paintball Fit. We're talking about Colt Lukau. Colt has been making waves in the pro division, bringing raw, relentless aggression and a sharp paintball IQ to the field. He's a player who refuses to stay the same, always adapting, always pushing the limits, whether it's his gunfighting, closing, or his uncanny ability to read the field. Colt is proving why he's one of the players to watch. Without further ado, what's up?
What's up, guys? I appreciate the introduction.
That was pretty well done, wasn't it?
Yeah. That had me smiling the whole time. I really appreciate the kind words, man.
Absolutely. Well, you earned them, Colt. You certainly deserve them. When he read it to me before we even started the show, I said, that's perfect, because you're not just talking about the man's skill set on the field. You're talking about the man's skill set off the field, which I feel you showed tremendously at this event. So congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate
and you're one of my favorite players. So I got to create a fun introduction for not only a friend, but also somebody who I respect as a player and a young man. I pulled you aside even at the last event, and I was like, dude, look at you growing up. I've known your family for so long. I've gotten to kind of watch you guys become men, and it's been a real joy. So
thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, we have to ask one question to start it all off. How's the knee?
So it's a torn ACL. So it's a complete tear. But the doctor's hopeful that it's going to be repair and not reconstruction. So I won't even know until I wake up from surgery which one it was. Which is weird, right? Because he tells me, like, if it's repair, he said it's about a 7-month recovery, but if it's reconstruction, then I'm looking at 9 months.
Right.
So, hopefully I wake up and it's good news and start PT and, come back swinging for cup.
Yeah. Take that PT serious. Take it from someone who knows. All right. Don't try and cheat it. Don't try and, shave it down. Follow the instructions. Make sure you take care of that knee.
Absolutely. No, I want to come back stronger. I'm not cutting any corners. I want to make this be a blessing in disguise and come back even in better shape and, coming for the whole league. That's been my mindset.
I think that's it. I got to say something real quick. And I saw Ryan's face on that because he was probably thinking the same thing. That's the success. That's the attitude that has led to the success that is Paintball Fit right there. That's the attitude. And okay, enough blowing sunshine up your bahukas. It's all legitimate and earned, but I saw his look on his face and I'm like, yep, I caught it too. That's the attitude right there. It's
I was going to say, we should all tell you that you probably can't come back, because then you certainly will. It seems like every time you guys are told you shouldn't do something, can't do something, or it's improbable that you guys will do something, you do it. So I think GI made a post about, like, can Paintball Fit win 3 in a row? And I just put on there, if a whole bunch of people tell them they can't, they probably will.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
My favorite shirt. Yeah. You were wearing a shirt on Sunday that I absolutely, it said, with all due respect. And I caught it. And I'm not sure if you've noticed, maybe you haven't, but I've been kind of playing up on that. I was like, yeah, Dynasty's finished and Paintball Fit's a fluke.
Yeah.
So I keep reiterating that, because so much, you just shut all the naysayers up, man. Way to be.
I appreciate it. No, I love it. I love reading the comments, reading the posts. It brings fuel to the fire. It's good.
Yeah.
Every great athlete, at least like the ones that I kind of, I don't want to say idolize, but I kind of look up to and I enjoy their story. They all sort of would create some sort of narrative based on headlines, right? They would figure out a way to use a headline, or maybe not even a headline. It could be like half a line that they would pull out and use as fuel to get something done, right? Whether or not it was, additional motivation at the gym, or, Michael Jordan obviously is a, fantastic representation of that. Like, he would just, before the game, he would find like one little news clipping from 20 years ago if he had to, and that's what he was going to use as fuel, right? And that's like I think that's a unique skill too, to be able to kind of find this thing, whether it exists or not in real life, it's enough for you, and that's all that matters. And you guys have done something that's somewhat improbable, right? Not impossible, not totally unthinkable, but it is improbable for a freshman team to come in, get better and better and better in the way that you guys did. And we'll touch on this because I really understand the formula in which you guys have worked on that works. And we'll kind of talk a little bit about it for the young coaches and players who do listen to the show, because I think it's important to understand winning at your division and whatever level you're in is critical to the success later. So I don't want to give it all away. We'll talk about it later. But you guys have done a bunch of things that like just are improbable. Winning 5 semi-pro events in a row is improbable. Coming in as a freshman team, getting better at the rate in which you guys did, winning World Cup is improbable. Beating the teams you went through at World Cup is improbable. And then to come back in the very first event in the following year and win the first, and not, no disrespect to the other guys on your team, because I think they're really, really good, but to lose kind of your sort of emotional leader right off the bat in the practice the day before, and to be able to plug another guy in, next man up style, who did a great job. I mean, he's not you, but he did a great job. Like, he was not just serviceable, he was good. Yeah. Right? Like, he was good. So it just speaks volumes about the program and who you guys are. It's improbable, right, to do what you guys are doing. So it's very exciting. And to be people like Mike and I who talk about paintball and love storylines, you guys are the best story in paintball right now.
I agree.
Man, I appreciate it. It's it was definitely a wild one, like having that injury happen. It was almost like silent, like with the whole team kind of around me, like when it happened, like everyone that kind of came close to me, like no one kind of said a word other than, like my brothers, right? Like, but the other teammates, like you can kind of see them like going in their own thought processes, which I feel like is normal for every team, whether it's a top player, a rotational player, someone who played a lot at practice in a position. If they get hurt at the event, like that throws a wrench in all of your game plans. Like that throws everything out the window of like, oh, okay, shit. Like how should we play this? So like we had a whole conversation about that night. And Johnny kind of set them down, was like, look, it happened. We're going to get more reps in with other teams, and we're going to figure out a new way to play together, because there's no point in being sad about it, right? Let's just get past it. We just got to play a little bit different because we don't have that player in that position, and then just kind of found a different style. But it, it definitely sucked. I mean, especially like for myself, but.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. You said different style. But to me, it looked like the same style. Looks like literally. That's why I said plug and play, because it literally looked like, we were practicing you when it happened, and I saw all your breakouts, and then I'm watching the tournament and I'm watching all your breakouts and seeing kind of where the guns are. To me, it literally looked exactly the same. Like the places you were shooting off the break that Jacob was shooting were dying, right? Like it really looked like plug and play. Now, I don't think like closing wise, Jacob's not you, right? Like he's not, I don't think he has kind of the experience and in some of those big situations like you do, but it really looked plug and play, man. Like the style looked the same.
Well, what I meant was, I should have clarified. At practice, the style had to change because we didn't have Jacob at practice. So at practice, we didn't have me or Jacob now, and it's just like, yo, like the two people that need to play this position. So we had to go the whole day playing up, without that player. Now Jacob came in and stunted the whole event, so like you ended up being able to get back to like, okay, we can do the same style, and everything was fine. But even then, like Jake only played that position at practice 2-3 points because like I don't sit at practice, so like even for him, like every point he's coming off, we're talking about like, okay, in this situation, this is what I would have did, this is why, and like going over steps because he's learning a new spot on the field every point because he only got like 2 or 3 reps at practice the entire weekend.
Wow.
So like that's kind of what I meant by
impressive.
different style was like,
Got it.
hey, don't play how I would have played it. You got to kind of do your thing because it's different. Like for me, I liked going up the center to close it a lot more. For him, he liked going out to the snake insert or the D side insert and sometimes going up the center. It's not that either way is wrong. It's just played it a little bit different.
Sure.
But
That makes it even more impressive to me then. So now,
yeah, I don't think a lot of
if I
people know
wasn't
that.
impressed enough, it makes
Yeah.
me even more impressive knowing that he only got 2 or 3 reps on the darn thing. And goodness gracious.
Now,
See, he even made me
does it make you feel better or worse about how bad they beat you guys in the finals, knowing that kid only got a couple of spins?
Well, I don't think anything's ever going to make me feel better about it, but I will say that the execution, it looked like there's no beat was skipped. He played as if he had been there the whole time. So that's just really, really impressive. That's incredible.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's talk about you guys' methodology a little bit. So you guys, and it's been noted and documented and said a million times, you guys legitimately play more paintball, even probably more than we do on Red Legion. I mean, we play a lot. In fact, I'm in Florida right now. We start training tomorrow. You guys legitimately play a ton. So the day the layout comes, I'm sure you guys get to play nightball on it. Mm-hmm. And then you guys play again on Thursday.
Yeah. And then we play Thursday and then a little bit on Friday. And then it's just like really long days, Saturday and Sunday.
Right. Yeah. Against like semi-pro team, whoever's there. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And so then when you guys have spent time understanding, learning all the bounce shots, like by the time you guys get to the event, do you guys already have like a set 5-6 plays, 10 plays that you're going to test? Or do you guys have a pretty good idea? Like, hey, these are our 3 or 4, because even at World Cup, it seemed like you guys ran 4 plays. Mm-hmm. Like it looked like, based on my scout sheets, it looked like you guys had 4 plays. Like it was going to be, yeah. So sorry.
Yeah. I mean, I would say that on average, we probably have about 4 plays. And then the 5 or 6 kind of come in when it's like, I don't know what the fuck we're doing. Like this team just kind of has our number. So then you have those in your back pocket of like, like say you run up and over to Dorito 50 or like whatever, right? The kind of circus act plays. But we're not big fans of practicing that. Sure. I don't want to practice things. I mean, it's a terrible situation now that could injure someone. In a practice where I'm like, yeah, of course, if we make the 50 off break, we're winning that point. I don't need to practice that. I want to practice not being able to make it past a certain bunker and understanding how to play out of it, right? Now your ones aren't going to like hearing that because that's not fun, right? It's a little bit harder and they got to think a little bit more, but I think it's good for development and good for learning a layout.
And it's way more realistic.
Way more realistic, especially like finals on Sunday. You got to know how to play out of every short, long, like, okay, you can make it far. We're definitely going to run far every point then. You know what I mean? But like if you're getting shot off break in practice, there's no point in me continuously sending my guy to the snake off break. It's a 50-50 shot. Let's play out of if they're hitting it 80% of the time and go from there.
Yeah. And that's something a lot of coaches, I'm not sure, always look into. They don't always think okay, hey, we were making this in practice. All right, so we've been making in practice 75% of the time. This is our game plan. Yeah, what happens when you get up against that team that is shooting those guys? Do you know how to fight out of the pocket? Do you know how to expand from a compressed ready, right? So I think the fact that you guys do that whole engineering aspect of it is so intelligent, and more teams need to be doing that sort of thing.
No, 100%. And I think a lot of teams are. I think that it's slowly getting to that point. At least I'm seeing more teams kind of play like a Sunday style paintball in the prelims than in years past. But I mean, it's all risk reward, and you just kind of have to play with that yourself. And honestly, sometimes the risk works and it keeps working because they're just not hitting their shots. So like, you won't really know till the match starts and you're seeing who's hitting what shot, and then try to abuse what's not getting hit.
That's such a great point, because when the very first match, we were the second point of the day of the tournament. And the first point went, 8-9 minutes. And I remember sitting there thinking, I have questions. This is not how I thought this field would play. I got a little concerned there, but no, I think you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. You got it. You know, if you get a chance, that's one of the advantages of having those later games. You get to see how things are kind of working and playing. So smart stuff there, Colt.
Appreciate it.
The tempo is always different on Friday morning than it is on Saturday afternoon.
100%.
Completely different.
It's always different, right? Because you do have closer matchups, right? By the time you get to Saturday afternoon, and like everybody's kind of figured out where the red lines are going to be, right? But on Friday morning, unless you're us, right? If you're Red Legion, you're still running everywhere. You're still going to try to run everywhere. Like against every team, we're going to figure out based on the lineup, who's shooting this well and who's not. We're going to run everywhere. But everybody else kind of slows down. And by Saturday afternoon, I mean, you know, especially on this layout, which is weird, I really thought we would see a lot less 4-minute points plus. I thought there would be a lot less, but we saw a bunch. There were a bunch of points that were over 4 minutes. It was a little shocking.
Yeah, I think it was a lot of people were playing that snake insert inside more than they were at practice. Because like even us, like we weren't doing it a lot at practice. We were actually getting into the snake quite a bit and attacking with Brody. But Brody, if you go watch and you rewatch our matches, the first 2 points against Hurricanes, our snake side was very aggressive. We had Scott and Brody on snake side, and that's how we were practicing it. Second point, Brody's hamstring popped. So like he couldn't play the rest of the event. So that's why Scott never set.
Wow.
Like Scott, so like our snake side, Brody, we went from having 2 snake threats that were going to rotate and everything was going to be great. And then Brody popped his hamstring, couldn't go running anymore, and then couldn't play anymore. So then we had to, all right, you're probably never going to go past this insert off break because you know, if you get exhausted,
save your legs.
Yeah, 100%. And then we started realizing, oh, this bunker is actually like super useful inside, because if they're just running wild on D side, you could hold it. And then everyone was doing that. And I think that's kind of what ended up happening was there was that cross with the tall tower and the snake insert. And then what I really liked doing when that happened is I think the center guy from back center should go up to kind of release the insert to go play snake side. And then everything kind of works out great. The tower comes inside. This guy takes over the tower's job. He's got it locked down. This guy goes in the snake, goes all the way down the field, wins the game. Zone dependent, right? But it took so long for people to do that and understand that's the setup that I think that's why all these points lasted like 6 minutes, 5 minutes, just because people were honestly, I don't think a lot of people knew how to close on that field. On most teams. I think most teams thought it was just all going out and up, or just there was a couple teams like you guys did it a lot with Blake and Yosh, and like you guys understood it, and like Impact understood it. But I feel like a lot of the people that played the center were playing it as a wrecking ball and not actually going up there to do a job.
Right, not tactically.
Yeah, and I think that was one thing that I remember scouting you guys, and I was like, dude, we have to handle their center, because if we don't, our turtle's just going to fly down the snake side, and that's what was, I think, helping you guys a lot. And then when he goes down the snake, now that your Dorito side is free to go win the game, because now there's not just some dude inside waiting. But I think it was just taking people so long to understand how to play the center that it took forever, every point, until you had a team playing the center properly and getting it set up to go wind down the snake side real fast to the 50 or before the 50 to get away from the bounce shot, and then D side releasing. But
yeah. Two things you said right there, Colt, that I kind of want to jump on real quick. One, you talk about the setup. And for those of us, who have the lower divisional coaches who are watching the show, that's something that we talk about a lot, and maybe we don't talk about enough, is what's the optimum setup. And I think this is something that Ryan and I talked about in the NXL Tampa layout. The last show was what we liked about this layout was that it was unbalanced. And what we mean by that is we could hit you from anywhere if you weren't paying attention. There was always a hole. And that's why you saw a lot of people using that snake insert so you didn't get bit Dorito way. If you end up feeding the snake, well, that's one less gun that's keeping you from out of the snake. So you leveraging that center attack with more than one body was the concept I thought that was the key to success. One to do a roll, one to set a trap. Lots of different ways to address it. And I love the fact that you realize you literally painted a great setup, right? If you lost the one on the Dorito side early, it was a son of a biscuit getting that body out and surviving and stopping the bleeding, right? If you were first into that snake, wasn't always the best, right? Because you have no visual acuity. So you have no idea. It's whack-a-mole in front of you. So there's so many unknowns on this layout, but I love how you talked about the setup. And I just kind of wanted to pull that out and mention that to people, that there are certain setups on certain layouts that are key. And if we want to use a survivability perspective, but if we can get to this setup where we have two here, one here, and this is the Overwatch and this is the attack, that's the optimum positioning to close a match. That's what we mean by the setup. But I'm sorry, I just want to hop on that real quick because I love the fact that you brought it up. And well done, well said. So I'll shut up now.
Yeah, it was again, there were like three different ways to do what Colt just said. Yeah. And that was what was cool about the layout, right? You could do those jobs from multiple different places. It just depending on which gun you wanted to pull out, right? As long as you could get one of them to go to the outside, the middle just became fun. As long as the second guy would go up there. We had challenges trying to get the understanding that, hey, we got to have two up there. Like, stop it. We need two to go up there. And, the guys would, we need to get to the edges. Okay. So anyway, it's tough when you're dealing with, some of the best in the world, but sometimes you just got to say, okay, okay. All right, let's go. So anyway, nonetheless, so talk a little bit about, so we talked kind of how you guys, you show up to the event, you kind of have 4 plays that you guys have perfected, right? You've played them in multiple different scenarios, which is awesome because we talk about this all the time. Like, make sure if you have your bases, like, these are going to be our base. These are options from the base. We want to run them until the wheels fall off so that we can try to find holes in them, right? You almost want to go tell the other team, here's what we're trying to stop. Find holes, right? Like, find different ways to get through this. And then here's where we're going to try to stop it. So once you guys do that, you get to the event, you go out, you play your first match, which, by the way, throughout the entire event, again, you guys just kept getting better. Like, you got better and better and better as the event went on. And again, kind of in my opinion, what's true paintball fit fashion, you guys never really looked like you stumbled much. It seemed like it was like you were in control. Again, even with, it sounds like even more adversity with Brody, you guys are dealing with a lot of stuff, but really never skipped a beat and kind of kept the tempo the same, kept the methodology the same. It was really interesting to kind of see, again, you guys just kept getting better as the event went on. Like, by the time you guys made it to even was it Impact? Yeah, to the Impact match, I was like, I don't know that anybody can beat them. It was kind of like what I thought AC Diesel looked like on day one. I was like, I don't know that anybody's going to beat these guys. By the time you guys played that Impact match, I kind of felt the same way about you guys. So, like, how did you guys make adjustments as it went on? Because I know, so now you're saying you guys had you have Johnny, and you have Casey. So you have 3 heads kind of all in there. Like, how did you guys split up those responsibilities, and how did you guys make all your adjustments? Like, how did that occur?
I don't think it was it wasn't really like the responsibilities, if that makes sense. I think we all 3 kind of did the same thing all the time. But like if I saw them already talking to a player, I'm not going to go talk to that player because like there's only
Right.
so much information they can take. And if I say something that's contradicting to what he just said, that guy's fucked mentally. Like he has about 2 minutes to think about things, right? So like I would just watch, and if I would just watch our team, right? Because I don't really care other than the breakout what the other team's doing, unless I see a tendency like crazy, right? Like, oh, every time he snaps high on the inside, it's because he's going to dive low into the snake. But like mostly I'm watching for my players to fuck up. So I can be like, hey, if you would have did this and this, you just put your teammate on that job and set this up. You don't have to fight that guy. Like there's little things like that that like I personally paid attention to. And I know like Johnny and Casey do that as well. But to be honest with you, with me on my crutches, like I was over by the monitor, I would see something and be like, that's who I want to talk to about this. And because I only had enough time to talk to really one player per thing. And most of the time that was the people I can see. So I never really talked to Chavi, never really talked to Trenton. It was just, I'm going to handle Cyrus, Jake, and Scott, and just kind of kept nitpicking those guys and then getting their information. Because it was really easy because like in practice, I played Jake's position, but I would fill out it up into Cyrus's and play the entire center. So like I was able to give him feedback on like, no, this is where you go to kill that guy. This is the bounce shot. This is so like any question he had, I could help him. But honestly, like he played that position so much, he knew most of it anyways. So like they made our jobs really easy. It was just more like, kind of like slapping him on the hand, being like, no, that's not how you win this point, and like getting after him that way. And then Brody being down would go to Scott and be like, hey, this is what their snake player's doing. I think you can beat him this way. And like talking about how the closet's playing the snake. That way Scott can make that read, because we knew if you were on a knee in the tall tower, you weren't stopping anything on snake side. So like I don't really know what you were doing. So like Brody would watch for the closet's tendencies to go tell Scott. We called the tall tower closet. The tall tower.
Yeah, the
Hertz Tower. The Hertz Tower. He would go be like, hey, that guy's playing like this, and would kind of just let Scott know. That way, if Scott ever wanted to make a move, he would have the confidence to know that player in the first 10 seconds drops to a knee, or in the first 10 seconds, he looks inside and plays Dorito side. Like, and then just certain things like that. And then Johnny and Casey were also being like, hey, this is what they're doing off the break. This like, so really everyone was kind of just kind of trying to perfect how to close, if that makes sense. Their specific positions. And then Casey was kind of overseeing the whole thing, being like, no, this is what we should do because this is what they did off break, and then kind of going about it that way.
I was talking to Ryan about this in the green room before we even started the show. And I said, one of the things that I loved that I got to see in the pit was how you, from a tactical perspective, and not just a strategic, but from a tactical perspective, I'd watch you engage a player and you'd say, hey, we know that when they do this, we're supposed to do this. And then you would get a little feedback or even pushback from that player. And they'd say, yeah, but this is what happened. And then I would watch you take a minute, you think about it, you're playing it in your head, and then you go, well, then this is the solution. And it's like you had played it so many times that if A, then B, it was fascinating to see it actually take place. Like I saw you would literally stop looking into them, think, and you're playing the game in your head, and you go, well, then this is the solution. If A, then B. And it was really fascinating to watch. And I think all of you normally do that pretty well. Johnny does that normally. There's just, it was really great to see everyone kind of doing that, which is, it's obvious why you are also, your learning curve and your trajectory is the way it is, because you all have done the work. You have all studied it. You've all done the academics, and it's impressive.
No, I really appreciate that. Yeah. And like you mentioned it about Johnny, what a lot of people don't realize is like everything I was doing was just louder than what Johnny does. But Johnny has done that our entire career. Like that's why we win. You know what I mean? Because we have that guy with Casey, but like Johnny plays the layout, and he comes to us and he's like very nice, right? And he's like telling us like, this is why you're messing up. This is like doing everything like that people have been kind of like patting me on the back for, but like I'm just loud. Like that's the only difference. You know what I mean? Like he's doing all of that stuff, But the nice part is like now he gets to go and play because a lot of people don't realize how good of a player he is. So like he's gonna go play and I'm gonna take over this because like, well, I have no option anyways. So let's switch it. You go fuck people up on the field. I'm gonna try to take over with me and Casey, get myself a little clipboard, a little personal clipboard, and let's get after it. I'm excited though, because I think a lot of people they don't realize what's coming unless you've practiced them. But
I made that comment about Johnny in like Bianca and I were talking about this in the green room, and I was like, hey, I just don't like, we can talk about this and bring it up, but I don't want to overshadow the fact that Johnny has been doing that for 2 to 3 years and has been like kind of sacrificed his playing career
100%
to step back and play that kind of not really just assistant coach role, but like really kind of the coach, right? Like it's almost like you have Johnny who's the coach, and then kind of like what we have with Max, who's really the coach, and then Alexi, who's the play caller. Like you got like Johnny has been kind of doing that for the last 3 years. And so I made sure I told Mike, I was like, I don't want to overshadow the fact that Johnny has sacrificed himself over the last several years to do that and has been just crushing it, you know, because I hear him when I'm next to you guys in the pit. I hear him every time. Like he's around all the guys, he's in their ears, like, and he is a little quieter than you for sure. He's a little
he definitely goes about it in a more calm way. I'm just yelling, but he's been doing that for years, and like honestly, ever since after the AC Dallas year, and like if you go rewatch our AC Dallas days, like he was our best player, and I know for a fact he was. So I'm like, if you go rewatch it, like the guy who won us all the points was that guy. He took a step back to like help develop all of us. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe everything happens for a reason. Like now it's his time. He's going to go start playing and getting that, because he's been practicing and everything. Just when layouts drop, he kind of takes a step back and starts helping develop all the guys. And I'm actually excited to kind of take that role over for him and let him get after it, because I think it's going to be good.
I love that word. I love the word, and coaches in the professional division don't use it enough, and that's develop, right? Mm-hmm. Because I really do believe that. I mean, I've found myself coaching an incredible paintball team with some incredibly talented people on it, and even those talented individuals can still continue to develop and get better. And so development is a continuous process; it never stops, right? So anyway, it's good to hear you use that word.
Let's jump into this question.
I knew you were going to go right there.
Cool.
I knew it.
Colt, what was the adjustment made after the first 2 points against Dynasty in the finals? So he says, sorry if this was already answered, but it wasn't. So great question.
I mean, it wasn't anything crazy. Honestly, it was a lot of mental. Like you could just kind of see a lot of people like mentally, you kind of just had to be like, hey, like stop making these stupid mistakes and just letting the center guy shoot us. Because I mean, it is what it is. Like Blake and Yosh were playing that center better than anyone else.
Yeah.
In the entire tournament. So I think that was a big thing, is just kind of like, you know, play our game. Don't die stupidly, right? Like I'm okay if you're like, hey, you know, he just had a good ball on me, you know, whatever. But dying with your gun down, just taking off when you have a zone and getting shot by the center guy, it's a no-go, right? So I think that probably was the big adjustment, was just talking about mid-game mistakes. I don't really think it was like wasn't really like we adjusted anything breakout wise, if that makes sense. It was just like, what are you doing? Don't throw away the game because you're an idiot. Just talk to your teammate next to you and slowly work it out together. Like we've played these situations, and you know, I trust that we're smart enough to go win every single point 5-on-5. Better yet, when you kill a guy off break. So it was really just like dialing down into like, stop playing selfish paintball and dying to the center.
I was actually gonna that spot. I mean, obviously you are giving us the tea, but when I saw the question, I was like, well, I could probably answer this for Colt, which is make sure you don't die stupid from the center. Shoot all the bounce shots up there, make their life miserable up there, and make them expose themselves when and if we, check it off, and quit over engaging in dumb, unnecessary gunfights.
Yeah.
And with your body, you're better alive, and we're going to beat them 5 up, and we're going to start shooting them on the break. And then our 5 on 4, our 5 on 3 are going to win the day. And I could tell you what I felt like our counter was supposed to be and how it was supposed to succeed, but we'll do that offline.
I thought what I saw were just bad transitions. Exactly kind of what you're talking about, like getting baited and then biting the hook and getting shot on the trap. And I didn't see any big adjustment other than exactly what you said.
And I think that happens. I think that happens with a lot of teams on Sunday. And I think it's all a mental block. And I think it's just trying to get those guys back into like, okay, no, I am smart. I'll figure it out. And then going back out there and just doing the things that and not second guessing, all the things that got you to that point. I think that's all it really was.
It's a great question. Christian from In the Pits podcast says, Colt, when you coach divisional teams at Fit, are you bringing as many high-level concepts in as you can or focusing on key fundamentals to help those divisional teams play their best? Great question, Christian.
Great question.
You can't just go straight into the high stuff, right? Like now there's definitely certain players that I've been coaching and I'll go and I'll talk to them like one-on-one and be like, I need you to do A, B, C, D, like, and give them everything because I've seen them do it. So I know that it's in that brain. I just have to tell them how to do it on this layout. But it's definitely rare. If you're talking like D3 and lower, but you can't overcomplicate things at a lower level. And you just have to kind of read team to team, depending on who you're coaching.
Yeah, great answer too, because it really is about the team. Like there's probably individuals on the divisional teams who can understand, like take in and consume those higher level concepts and really digest them well. And there's others who you're just going to confuse the piss out of them, and then they're going to get frustrated, right? Because they're going to continue to make the same mistake because you're trying to explain it in a way that's just not comprehensible to them. So
like there's some D4 teams that I'll coach, and I'm like, we're not playing pocket. Like you're running because that's our best bet. I'm not even trying to do a pocket play. Like you're going to go to the snake off break every point.
Yeah.
Like that's
Bianca, you want to grab that question from Nima?
I saw that. I was going to throw that up here. I thought this was fascinating. By the way, thank you, Nima. Nima's got a podcast, by the way, that if you haven't, check it out on YouTube. Nima asks, watching from Iran, it's 4:15 a.m. here. Got a question for Colt. Which pro team is probably a bit more challenging for you to play against?
It's I would say the Russians, in the fact that like you could shoot them off break, you could do whatever, but they're gonna keep coming and they're just gonna keep throwing everything they have at you. So I think the Russians are a little bit more relentless when it comes to matches, I think, out of all the teams. If that makes, like, they're okay playing a 20-point match.
Yeah,
that's correct.
In fact, to.
Yeah, like they're 100% like, okay, let's do this. Oh, you shot 2 of us off break, immediately towel it. Let's go play another one. Like I think that would be, but like, if I don't know, it's a weird question because like everyone's a competitor, so like not.
Yeah, but there's certain, like when you think about Matty Marshall says this all the time, styles make fights, right? When you think about like styles that mix or don't mix, sometimes there are, like for us, it's damage, right? They're really challenging for Red Legion because in the tempo that they want to drag us into, and it's hard not to sometimes get sucked into that. In fact, we did at this event, but I will say, like, from my perspective, the style in which you guys play and the energy that you guys play in, because it's so, you guys are always, other than at World Cup, you guys are just really calm. Like everything is just kind of level, kind of all the time. You guys rarely have these sort of peaks and valleys emotionally, which I think dictates a lot of times the tempo some teams play at. They get frustrated, and so they get really high tempo, or they get frustrated and go the other way and get really low tempo because they're afraid to make mistakes. You guys seem like it's, you know, you go out, lose a point, you come right back, almost unfazed, it seems like, right? It's like nothing changes. Methodology is the same, tempo is the same. Like it's almost like you guys are, it is really like you're just doing what you do at home, right? Like you guys are just going out and playing paintball. Same thing you do 4 days a week at home. It's an interesting, great question, but I think you guys probably do match up well against anybody.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah. Any other good ones in there we want to grab really quick before we jump on the next question?
I mean, there's some that are a little anecdotal, but that would be kind of fun to answer for Colt, I'd imagine. I don't want to put him too much on the spot, but
oh, this one's good.
That's what I was going to.
What makes Texas paintball different from anywhere else? I can answer that question, but I'll let Colt.
Man, I don't know. I think I don't know. That's hard. I would give you a better answer, but like I can't really attest to all the different styles of paintball. I can tell you that the attitude, I think it's more prideful than other places. I feel like people play for more pride in Texas than they do other places. I could be wrong, and I don't mean like Texas pride. I just mean like I think the people here are just a little bit, I would say like more sore losers, if that makes sense. I could be
like, I think it's culture.
Yeah.
Like what has happened in the last 8 years, because I've been playing paintball in Texas since the 90s. And what's happened to the culture in Texas that I haven't seen anywhere else is the number one, there's more pro teams now in Texas than anywhere else in the country. So you have this wealth of information, and they're all willing to share, right? Whereas like I feel like when I go to other places, a lot of times, number one, you don't have near as many pros, but number two, like they're kind of just there to do their thing and then leave, right? They don't hang around like you guys. What's happening down at X Factor Paintball Park, I know a lot of those guys, you know, Jesse Stevens comes out, even though I know he's a diesel guy, he goes out to X Factor and helps the divisional guys. I think the culture of what's happening in Texas is so unique right now. And you see it at the NXL, the divisional teams that are doing well, a lot of them are from Texas. A lot of them are from Texas. So I think it's a culture thing. You have a lot of guys who give a shit about paintball, who are sticking around. You know, they go do their drills and then they go hang out with the divisional guys, you know? Like every time I know I'm at Paintball Fit, I constantly have divisional people coming up asking questions, and not just questions, really good questions. Like shit that D4 players should not be worrying about right now, but they're already thinking about it. Yeah. Like that's unique. It's very unique.
I mean, I definitely noticed that. I think you're right. I think in Texas, it's just a lot of people just genuinely want to be great, if that makes sense. Like they all just like everyone wants to win, but then there's people that like hate losing so bad they want to figure out everything they can do to not have that feeling anymore and to just start winning. And I think
what I'm talking about is the pride you guys take in being able to help them be great.
Oh, absolutely.
Not just that they have
well, dude, I see Texas teams, and I honestly like that's kind of what I meant by pride is like when say Texas Titans, right? They're from San Antonio. Say they're playing a team from California in an NXL. I want that Texas team to fucking win. You know what I mean? And like I'm not even like I'm not friends with those guys, but like we're not like super close. But I'm like Texas, like, and I'm like that. And if they lose, I feel like I lost. You know what I mean? Like I feel like angry about it. So I mean, like that's kind of I don't see that in other places. I see it a little bit in Florida. I definitely see it in Florida, but
it's starting to happen here. It's beginning, right? It's starting to happen here. Like we're at Tiki's. A lot of the Red Legion guys are coaching teams here now. You now have the Legacy Sports Park thing that's happening. A lot of those guys are coaching young teams now. So it is starting to happen in Florida. But again, there's a lot of paintball being played in Texas. I mean, it's insanity there. Like, how many fields now have multiple turfed airball fields? There's like 5. Yeah, there's 5 to 7 that have multiple turfed airball fields in Texas. It's very unique. It's very unique.
No, it's amazing.
There was another one in here that I really liked.
Was it the drills one? Was it?
Yeah.
Yep. So what, here it is. I've got it.
Yeah.
What drills or things does PB Fit do to work on communication?
Great question, Connor.
There's not really drills to work on communication other than just being super accountable every single point. You know what I mean? Like, and if you come to any of our practices, you'll hear me not yelling during a point, but after. I'll be getting on to people about their communication, but it also, everyone takes it like they understand where it's coming from, and that you got to be more clear, concise. You got to get certain things out and just be accountable. I think that's the only, like, not drills, but like that's the biggest thing, is you just have to genuinely be accountable about, like, yeah, I knew it was kill 2 off the right side and the snake side was clear. I just thought I should start crawling and I didn't get that out to you guys, instead of just being like, no, I said it, you just didn't hear me. Like, I think that's kind of what makes us so good at it, is there's a lot of people getting on each other, but also when they get onto or get gotten onto, they kind of take it and they're like, he's kind of right. All right, I'll fix it. I'll do better next one. And then they do better. But I can't really think of like a drill for communication. You could sing in your car. I'll tell you that much. If you're ever driving by yourself, John Jackson's actually the one who told me about it when I was like D4, and he said he would drive from Houston like 4 hours to us, and he said he would just blare music and sing to kind of like get those chords louder. But it does work. It does work. It works in the fact that you can keep yelling all day and you don't get headaches as much. And then also sing on the field your syllables. That's a big one too.
Yeah.
So instead of screaming like Oklahoma, you scream out Oklahoma, like the whole thing, and that helps too. But I can't think of like a drill for communication.
You guys are probably the worst team to ask that question to, because you guys just play so much paintball.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't.
Yeah. Like, it's funny when people ask, I don't have any questions in here about drills because I've seen you guys play. I'm like, people ask, like, what drills do you see them do? And I'm like, none. Like, they may snap shoot some like at the end of a point or before a point starts, but they just play a ton of paintball. Mm-hmm. Like, so it, like, all of the things individually that guys, you know, are working on away from the field, I never see them do that together. Like, when they're together, they're playing just point after point after point after point after point. And what's really important about is it's not a barbecue paintball style that you guys are playing those point after point after point. It's literally like you play the point and there's a discussion of correction, methodology, like what you guys are going to do the next play. It's not just play the point onto the next. There's a very mental, a mental part of the process that you guys don't skip. That's what's important about the way you guys train. That's really kind of unique, just playing a ton of points and not a lot of drills. But not everybody has the benefit that you guys have, everybody being right there together and you guys get to play a lot.
Yeah,
a lot.
Certainly a strength.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. I apologize. I'm having a rare thing happening tonight where my real life work is blowing me up. There seems to be an emergency. So I apologize if I look a little distracted, Colt.
No, you're all good.
I wish I did
You're
this paintball thing 100% of the time. Unfortunately, I have to pay a mortgage and feed my children. So
yeah, no, it's definitely important.
Yeah, it's a good question. Or statement, I guess. Richard James says, I'd love to hear you three discuss how you establish zones and control positions while learning a layout. Wow, we could be here for an hour talking about that.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's its own show.
it really
Yes.
is.
That's
Yeah.
And we actually
Um,
cover that in our coaches clinics.
We do. Yeah, Richard, great question. And we'd love to spend the time to talk about that. But the reality is it's understanding where are the places you can be stung from and what's important about understanding where they're not. So a zone, a lot of times people think about zone calls telling you where the player is. It's more about telling you where they're not and then understanding the space that's now available that you can play in if nobody's outside of a certain place or inside of a certain place. I hope that makes sense.
And if it didn't, keep watching the show. It will eventually.
Yeah, did you see this? Bobby Kramer says, you asked that question and suddenly Mike's work emergency can wait.
That's exactly right. It's true. Because honestly, this is my love. I love this sport. I love this game. I love getting the opportunity to talk to people like Colt, and I get to hang out with my friend Ryan. So yeah, it's a big deal, but hey man, I'm in it for the haul. So
It's a great question too.
ooh.
Diamond Hands and Rocket Ships. Great screen name. It says, what do you think is Paintball Fit's weakness and strength? So I'm going to say biggest weakness, biggest strength.
oh me.
Yeah, you.
I think our biggest strength is definitely our mentality. I think as a unit, we all kind of have a collective mentality, and there's no like there's no dividedness in our team. I think you see that a lot with a lot of teams. I think there's a lot of little groups here, little groups there amongst the team. We're not really like that. Everyone is pretty close knit. Not to be all kumbaya, but that's pretty. I think that's our biggest strength. Is that we all have the same goals, and we all know that we're going to be able to reach those goals together. And I think that belief kind of helps every point, if that makes sense.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
Biggest weakness. I mean, I don't know what you want me to say. They might not know the biggest weakness. I don't want to.
Durability.
Yeah, durability.
I was going to say injuries.
Yeah,
right,
durability.
Not real durable.
Yeah, that's definitely the big one.
The durability is a problem. It's
Yeah.
a problem. But that, like, again, the downside of you guys playing as much as you do is it brings, especially playing on turf. And that's one thing, like, I'm not a huge fan of playing on turf all the time, because if you look at any sport where you play on turf as much as you guys do, you're gonna have, and this is the health nerd in me that's gonna come out a little bit, but you're gonna have impact joint problems, and you're gonna have tendon, ligament, and small tissue issue. It's gonna happen no matter what. Like, even if you're real safe, you're not diving all the time, just the impact of constantly being on the turf creates those things. It just happens. Like football teams that practice on turf and play games on turf, those athletes have very similar issues, including stress fractures in lots of different places. So yeah, it's a tough thing doing what you guys are doing and trying to stay healthy. It's really, really hard.
Yeah.
Non-contact injuries.
Non-contact
injuries.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
reading through some
totally.
of these now too.
Yeah, Patty Rice. Yeah, for sure. Non-contact injuries can happen anywhere, though. Yeah, you could slip and fall off a curb and tear something. Absolutely right. My sister did that like a year ago. Literally stepped off a curb and tore her meniscus. So,
Jeez.
Yeah, don't want to do that again. So,
oh, it's a good question.
Yeah.
Nima says, not coaching related question, but would be cool to ask Colt if Paintball Fit players got any offers from other pro teams during the offseason. I talked about this a little bit in our preseason show. Yeah. I kind of talked, I at the 10-man, I kind of talked with Chavez and asked him how many offers he got, and he was like, none. He was like, I didn't know what he called me. I will also say, Nima, like most coaches and team managers know, if a team wins World Cup, that's probably not the time to go try to grab one of their guys. Nope. Probably not. No. Do you know of any of your guys?
Yeah. So Cyrus got offered. I won't say the team who did it, just because like I have respect for those owners, and I don't want people being
Sure.
turds to them. But he got offered. I think he said it was, it was over 25K. So, but yeah, he turned him down because why? You know what I mean? Trying to stack wins with his friends, which I respected him for that. That was yeah. He told me about it like a day or two after it happened. That was pretty close after Cup.
I think that's a great story, though, right? That's something that Dynasty talked about, right? We talk about these people who got the offers and the crazy offseason, but what about the people who got offers and didn't take them and stayed loyal and stayed with the crew, right? So Arturo and Harry for Dynasty. So, those are great stories too. And I think it's a big part of it. So
yeah,
almost
Ryan
we
gets
should talk about more. Yeah. Like you're
Ryan
gonna
could
tell
be
me
a
Ryan
millionaire right now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ryan gets offers every year.
So it's good stuff.
So that's kind of what I meant by like our biggest strength. I think it's everyone wants a legacy, and we don't just want to be hired guns. I think that's our biggest strength is everyone's in the same boat of like, no, I want to be the greatest team to ever play. And this is how you do it. You stick together and you go win.
The greatest team. The greatest team.
So
yeah.
So now that you guys have you've won back-to-back events, right? Like your goal setting has to have changed, right? Like where you're starting the beginning of your pro careers last year, coming into event one, probably having good, reasonable, moderate goals. Hey, let's try to go, make it into the Sunday round if we can. Let's not be less than 2-2. Huh?
I said it was win.
It was win. So you went in. So you were miserable after the event.
Yeah, because all I saw was how lucky we were.
Got it. Okay. So then event 2, same goal, win.
Same exact goal. Because I think people still don't think we're going to keep doing it. So everyone's still in the same boat of like, no, I want to win the series.
I think you need to think that for motivation, and that's great. That's awesome. Like I talked about, no, seriously, I talked about that at the beginning. If that's what you need, I think that's great. But obviously people who know paintball and understand what's happening right now, I mean, you guys are going to be a favorite. Right now, in fact, you are the best team in the world, period. Like you're the best team in the world until you're not, right? So like you've won 2 back. You were the best team in the world coming into the first event, even though you didn't win the series. You won anybody who's played paintball knows winning the series is great. It's good. Winning the World Cup is the thing, right? Like winning the series without the World Cup is like, all right, cool. Yeah. Right. But winning the World Cup and the series, that's the deal.
That's the deal.
Right now, you guys are the best team in the world. So whether or not you need that motivation, and you think people are still naysaying, and maybe they are, I don't know. I don't hear it in my circles. Nobody's saying Paintball Fit doesn't have a chance. In fact, I think even in our pre-show, I don't think anybody had you guys lower than 4th or 5th for the series. I don't think any of the 4 coaches had you guys lower than 4th or 5th. Did they, Mike?
No, we all talked about how we didn't see Paintball Fit coming out of the second tier, and we felt pretty confident that we'd probably see them in the first tier.
Yes. Yeah, I think everybody was on the same page that you guys would be more than likely in the top 4, maybe 5th, I think was part of the discussion. So nonetheless, so now you guys won 2 back-to-back events. Is the goal now let's win the series, obviously, and win World Cup, or is it to win 5 in a row?
Win 5.
Win 5 in a row. Love it.
I want to do something that's never been done. We did it in semi-pro. I want to do it in pro.
Yeah.
Whether that's this year, next year, whatever. That's the goal.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Love it. It's a good goal.
But that's the thing, right? We talk about goals all the time. And why not? Right? 100%. Why not? So that just kills me. I was just responding to them, so I'll just answer it here. I said we talk about that a lot.
You gotta
coaches clinic.
So we got in trouble for this after our last chaotic episode. Say who said it, and then say the question so people who are listening, not watching, know what you're saying.
Roger that. So Richard James asks, Mr. Bianca, can you clarify further what Coach's Show episode was on zone control? And what I said was we cover that in our coaches clinics.
Yeah.
I don't believe we've spoken on zone control specifically to the Coach's Show, but we do. You can see that covered at BKI. If you go on BKI, you can hop on there and probably hear a little bit about that zone control there as well. So,
Andrew, Red Legion.
I was
won
gonna
the series last year.
Yes.
He says, I don't even know who won the series last year. It was Red Legion won it by a lot.
By a lot.
Yeah, they had it
Triple
locked up
digits.
at Cup or before Cup, right?
Yep.
No, they had to.
They had to make Sunday
actually, because they got the bye. So because they had the bye, yes, they won it before Cup.
And it was by over 100 points or something like that. Something stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was dumb. It was dumb. All right, Mike, you got any other questions for Colt?
No, but I do want to stay in touch, Colt. I've hit you up on social media, so I want to talk a little bit more. I have lots of stuff that I think you could really bring. Love to bring you to some coaches clinics. Would love to talk to you about some BKI stuff. Would love to talk to you about a lot of different things, man. So
absolutely.
Yeah. Love it.
He can't ever leave Paintball Fit. That's the hard part.
I know.
How are they going to play 4 times a week if he's gone doing a BKI thing?
That's true. Yeah.
He would
just
be kick ass. He would be awesome in BKI.
That's what I'm getting at. I wanted to talk to him.
He would be awesome.
Yeah, 100%.
You would be a fantastic professor.
That's right.
I mean,
They let
I might
us
have
two
some
in
time
there.
this year, so
That's a good point.
this might be
really
the year
good
for me to come help. So
Love
you
it.
let me know.
Yeah, great question too.
Yep. When is the surgery?
Joey asked,
April.
when is the surgery?
So a weird date. It's April 1st.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I don't know if I'm gonna wake up and it's gonna be on the wrong leg or what, but yeah, he
Or
told
you
me the
wake up and
date.
you're like, kidding, it's tomorrow.
Yeah. So it'll be next Tuesday. And then I should be back home same day and start a recovery.
Excellent.
So are they going to give you one of those things that like keeps your leg moving the whole time?
I hope so. I want whatever they can give me. Yeah, I'm gonna be hammering out as much PT as possible and trying to come back as fast as possible.
They put your leg, they like strap it to this machine that literally just does like this circle thing. it's really weird.
That's wild.
Yeah. My wife had a torn labrum in her hip and she had hip surgery and they gave her one of those things and said it's normally for knees, but you need it. So anyway, like I could just hear it running all night.
I wanted to put that up there because I wanted to keep the good
Appreciate
vibes
that.
going as you head into surgery for that. So
No, I appreciate that.
So Dallas Hinkhouse says, continue to be a great leader, Colt. Great to see your passion for paintball help everyone around you excel. What a great statement.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All
That's
right.
the culture I was talking about with Texas paintball.
There
right
it is.
there. Yeah.
Excellent.
All right, guys. Yeah, so sorry Casey couldn't make it. He had the flu, but Colt stepped in. We really appreciate you doing that, brother.
Absolutely. I appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah. You want to shout out your sponsors?
Yeah. Got Hydra Fit, Paintball Fit, Planet Eclipse, BFP Gear, GI Sports. Dude, I'm blanking. There's a lot. I got Welts Gear. I know I'm missing people. I know I am. I'm sorry I don't have a jersey in front of me, or I'd be able to crank them out for you. But those are our main ones. But best sponsors in the game. Super excited to continue the year.
Your goggles?
Yeah, I said GI, JT.
Okay,
all right.
Yeah.
I was going to say JT.
Your loader?
JT, we shoot the control loader. We got Planet Eclipse guns, wearing our welts under t-shirts and all our soft goods. We got our Hydra Gear pants, Hydra Gear knee pads. Yeah, I think that covers pretty much everything. BFP gear.
Sandana?
And Sandana. Yeah, and Sandana.
What about your tank?
I don't think we have a tank sponsor.
Okay.
Okay.
By the way, BFP put out a great video about Fit in Dynasty. That
I saw it.
rolling.
I saw it. Now the goal is we got to get those people actually tweeting about paintball. That's the next step.
That would be awesome.
That's what we
Aldi
need to get.
and Publix.
Yeah, absolutely.
So great
All right,
episode.
pal.
Great episode.
I
Thank you,
appreciate
man.
it, guys.
We appreciate you.
What a great interview. And
He's such a
way
good
to step
dude.
in. Way to step in and handle business there. So
He's such a good guy. One of
he
my
is, man.
favorites.
He's a good. He's and more people need to, pay attention and listen to. There's so much more out there. It's incredible, So
Yeah.
Great story. Great story.
Fantastic.
Yep.
All right. Next coaches clinic will be Texas, right?
It is
No.
Texas. It is
No.
Texas.
No.
Yeah, it's not Atlantic City.
Cincinnati.
Oh, that's right. Cincinnati, which is after
Yeah.
Atlantic City. So Cincinnati.
So the next coaches clinic will be in Cincinnati. We already have the format. We already have all the curriculum. We'll get that out kind of in the next few weeks. Thank you to Colt for joining us tonight. This episode is brought to you by Max Sportswear. If you're playing the NXL or Regional League, contact Charles today for contingency details. If you want to elevate your game, join BKI. New platform and content is coming soon. Thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you to Major League Paintball, Darren Cessna, Kevin Fillers, Alex Sorensen, and Tom Cole. Next week, we will have Chris Fermicelli from New Jersey Leverage to talk about kind of their first event. What are they going to do moving forward? Should be a ton of fun. I'm Ryan Gray with Mike Bianca. As always, be responsible.